Install at your own risk. Available only on Braindance in store.
Hi everyone, it's 314 React here, and today we're looking at Cyberpunk 2077 with DLSS 3 on a RTX 4090. They finally released this, even though they announced it about 4 months ago, and it's been available to certain people for ages. I don't know why it's taken so long, but here we are. So let's take a quick look at the settings. So we're running on high texture quality. DLSS frame generation is on. I put this on quality, but it keeps setting itself back to auto, so we'll set that to quality. Field of view at 100. Film grain is off. Chromatic aberration, depth of field, lens flare all on. Motion blur, contact shadows, anisotropic filtering, everything's on high, everything is on high. Psycho, ray tracing is all on, and ray tracing lighting is at Psycho. We're of course running at 4K and with HDR10. NVIDIA low latency is another thing that's been added, but we'll leave that for now. What we're mainly interested in is DLSS 3. What we'll do first is we will run a benchmark actually without DLSS 3, see how that runs and look, and then we'll run it again with DLSS 3 and see the difference.
Over 70% of Night City is under drone surveillance.
Alrighty, so that's an average frame rate of 59.33. So that's not too bad. With everything cranked up, the 4090 is pretty beefy, but we can do better. We can get smoother, especially if you've got a high refresh rate screen. The minimum there, 37. It's not going to be great if you're in the middle of combat. I mean, obviously it's an RPG, FPS, but there's still, you know, obviously quite a bit of shooting in it. Okay, let's turn on DLSS frame generation. Make sure that stays on quality. Hit apply. So that just keeps wanting to go back to auto for some ridiculous reason. It's almost as if, you know, they should have fixed these annoying little bugs by now, unless that's meant to do that. I don't know. Anyway, so we've got DLSS on, and let's run another benchmark. Alrighty, so you can see quite a bit of a different story here in terms of average FPS. So that's 96.21, so that's 36 FPS, a little bit over extra. The minimum FPS is still at 49, which is interesting. It means we're probably hitting some sort of CPU limit or maybe a loading point. I'm not sure which, because we've got quite a beefy CPU and an NVMe drive here. I don't know what that bottleneck would be causing it to dip down to 49. And let's do a test run with DLSS and DLSS 3 completely off.
Des sauvages, cette nuit on crée des orages, elle fait couper le vide pour sa cage.
And as expected, we have got an average of 34 frames a second, a minimum of 27, which is interesting, and a maximum of 44. Quite interesting. It must mean that minimum is related to CPU in some way. So yeah, going from raw 4K, you're going from about 30 FPS, up to DLSS 2 quality, you're going up to about 60 FPS, and then by going to DLSS 3, you're then going all the way up to 90 plus FPS. So that's a 3x jump. That's pretty good. Let's jump into some actual gameplay now. Alrighty, so here we are actually in game, and we're getting about 103 FPS here. That is extremely smooth though, and I'm not seeing any sort of weird aberrations in the image. There's just frame tearing there because we have VSync off. Movements all look pretty good. Let's get in a bit of combat here. Which feels so much better. Because back on my 3090, this game was pretty much running at 30 to 40 FPS. Sometimes even going to the 20s. So to have it running... Oh boy. So to have it running at like 100 FPS is really, really nice. Alright. Yeah, it makes aiming so much easier, obviously, at high frame rates. And just like other implementations of DLSS 3, it's very clean. Yeah, you wouldn't even notice that this was running with frame generation, because it just looks pretty much perfect. And obviously with DLSS, normal DLSS doing its thing with the resolution, like it's being super sampled. The only thing I can see is these wires have a bit of a trail to them, by the looks of it. Not sure if that's being caused by DLSS 3. We will soon find out. Nope, that's being caused by something else, probably DLSS 2. While we've got DLSS 3 off here, it's still running pretty smooth, but you can definitely feel it's not as smooth. You won't be able to see it's not as smooth because this will be 60 FPS on YouTube, but it's a hell of a lot less smooth running at 63 FPS than it is nearly 100 FPS. If I was to turn VSync on and get it up to 98 frames, it would be really locked in. Let's head into this area and see what we get. So, 62 FPS here, few little frame drops every now and then. GPUs at 93%. Microsoft overlay up. So yeah, mostly GPU limited. Which makes sense given the settings that we're at and the resolution we're at and everything that's going on. This area is pretty busy. So we're going down to the 50s there. It seems to be when there's a lot of people around and a lot of reflections and stuff. I think that's why that inside area was lower FPS on the benchmark. And I imagine when you get into the city it'll be much busier as well, which we'll head to in a second. So that's all the way down to 49 FPS here. So let's turn DLSS 3 on. And here we are up to 103 FPS. Wow. It's, yeah. Over twice the frame rate. Wow, that's crazy. And all the animations look fine. There's no weird image quality issues as far as I can see. They're just moving the mouse around. Let's turn DLSS 3 off again. There's a slight difference in the mouse. Like a slight extra delay. And I don't think I'm imagining it. So you're getting a higher FPS, but a slight delay in your inputs. It feels like, anyway. Not like old school VSync sluggish, but just a little bit. It's well worth it for those extra frames. Let's get car along. Oh, I do love this car. See if we can get back to V's flat. Right, let's get the outside camera. Keep an eye on those frames. Keep an eye on the visual quality. Again, don't worry about the screen tearing. That is because VSync is off. God, this is so smooth. I mean, what a leap in quality. Although, actually, I've just realised, you know, I just remembered they were also supposed to be releasing the new ray tracing mode, weren't they? Like the ray tracing overdrive mode. And it's not here. So, not only have they taken 4 months to get around to releasing DLSS 3 for no apparent reason, they still haven't released RTX overdrive for Cyberpunk for no reason, which was also announced 4 months ago. Oh my god. What's wrong with this company? See, this is why I get annoyed with people saying that, you know, Cyberpunk is fixed and it's redeemed itself. It hasn't. It's still not even finished. Not only is it not even finished, but they still haven't even released stuff they said they were going to release months ago. And we know these things exist because there's videos out there of people with beta versions of it. So where is it? And why is it taking so long? Are they too busy making another 48 Witcher games? Anyway, back to what we're saying. So this area was pretty heavy before. We're running at 93 FPS here. Again, really nice. DLSS 3 off, and we're down to 55 frames. Ooh, yeah, that's nasty. And I haven't seen any visual discrepancies yet with DLSS 3. It could take the guys at Digital Foundry to pixel walk it to really find some odd things, but we'll try and find them here. 47 FPS. Let's get that DLSS 3 back on quick. Look at that, 90 frames. Oh man. And a lot of that is because of the really nice... okay. Oh my god, oh my god. It's just turned into absolute chaos. Look at that guy, he doesn't even care. He doesn't even care. Not bothered. So it's because of the optical flow hardware in the 4000 series that allows for DLSS 3 to work so well. It helps out with finding the motion vectors of pixels and using that to interpolate between frames in a very smart way. Much, much smarter than the way old TVs used to with their horrible smoothing of frames. I've heard some people saying that Nvidia should release DLSS 3 for the 3000 series hardware, but I think what they're not understanding is that with a driver hack you can run DLSS 3 on old hardware such as the RTX 3000 and 2000 series. They don't have the optical flow hardware to really back it up, so there's all sorts of visual glitches and other issues with it. Same with ray tracing. I mean, you could do ray tracing on software on shaders, you could do ray tracing on software on a CPU if you wanted. It would just be incredibly slow. The reason why ray tracing predominantly only works on RTX cards and newer Radeon cards and newer Intel cards is because they actually have the ray tracing hardware to make it run performant. So when you try and run ray tracing on a GTX series, which they do allow, it runs pretty damn slow. So that's the reason why. Let's head inside the actual building. There's kind of a bit of shimmering on the floor there. Not too bad though, probably unavoidable. Oh, I tell you, this game has so much potential. So much potential, and if you've seen one of my other Cyberpunk videos, you'll realize that's the car that just never seems to despawn. Yeah, this game looks so very nice. It really does. And it's got some good music, good atmosphere, some good story to it, but it's just missing so much that I don't think they're ever going to add to it. Ooh, yeah. You see this area. This area is just so filled with atmosphere. It's just so good. And it's like, yep, this is Cyberpunk. This is the genre of Cyberpunk. This is amazing. But there's just so much missing. And there's just not enough, you know, role-playing ability. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because I do love this game. It could just be so much more. Anyway, let's carry on walking around. Again, still haven't spotted any visual artifacts or anything strange going on. I think it's just natural stuff. Oh my god, these guys have got some serious balls. Oh my god. Oh, that makes me feel weird. Let's see if we can turn the VSync. Oh, hello. Hello. I don't think that's to do with DLSS 3. I think that is just something to do with the ray tracing. Oh, that might be. Let's turn DLSS 3 off. Nope. That is just some sort of weird issue with the RT. Probably how the rays are bouncing through that mesh. Something odd going on there. Oh, look, there's also something weird going on there. That's, again, something to do with the rays going through that mesh. Let's turn all the DLSS off and run raw 4K. So we're at 62 FPS now with DLSS 2 on its own. And this is DLSS completely off. And it's running at 30 FPS. Ooh, Christ. Pushing those raw pixels at 4K with a 4090 and it's 30 FPS. You can turn the ray tracing down, the SSR down, but I didn't buy a 4090 to turn settings down, so it's good to be able to flick DLSS on. So let's go here, 31 FPS. Let's crank it all the way back up and up to 84 FPS there, extra 50 FPS. Look at the difference. Like I've said before, DLSS quality can make things look like super sampling. So when you've got that mix of looking like super sampling with increased frame rate up to like 60 FPS from 30, and then you take that again up another notch by another 30 FPS and take up to 90 FPS with ray tracing and all the other cool effects on. It's so good. It's like magic. Yeah, there's been quite a few updates to this, but still not like a great deal of extra content has been added. And what was that? That was weird. That was definitely some strange lag going on there. Is that just coming out the menu? So I scrolled up and down, came out the menu. Oh yeah, when you come out the menu. Oh wow, okay. When you come out of menus like this, everything seems to lag and go weird. Huge amounts of mouse lag. It's like the DLSS 3 really clogs up somehow. How on earth, and that guy just walked through that concrete block. How on earth did they delay it by 4 months and it's still screwed up? So it means every time you come out of a conversational menu like that, it's going to lag. It was what were they doing in that 4-month delay? Oh my god. Let's go to here, wardrobe. So here we are at the wardrobe. And the game has crashed. Okie dokie, so the game randomly crashed on me. Let's do a test here. Let's check that it is DLSS 3 causing that by going to here, apply. We come out, we go up and down, we scroll down. And it's fine. Yep, so with DLSS 3 frame generation on, when you're in conversational menus or item menus like that, it will lag when you exit the menu. Let's go back to the wardrobe again and hope that it doesn't crash again. We're now in the wardrobe menu that we were trying to test earlier. So if we come out of the wardrobe menu, does it lag as well? Yes, it does. So any sort of full screen menu like that will lag when you come out of it with DLSS 3 switched on. Oh, come on. All right, let's switch to daytime. There we are, this is it. I do actually really like this part as well with the window you can look out of. It's so good. Like I said, there's a lot I love about this game. There really, really is. In fact, I'm going to try and turn VSync on so we can get rid of... Now we have a good idea of the frame rate. Now we can switch VSync on. No, we can't. We can't switch VSync on. Just because of DLSS frame generation? Right, VSync 98. On with boost enabled. Alrighty, so the game crashed again. So when you turn DLSS frame generation on, you can't get low latency, which kind of makes sense. VSync is off, which I think makes sense as well. Thinking back, that's right. You can't turn on VSync with DLSS. Okay, fair enough. Okay, yep, I remember now. Can we cap the frame rate, though, to try and prevent frame tearing? So, capping it at 98. That's done. bit on helping it reduce that frame tearing. Let's see if we can knock it down to 97 frames. Okay, no, there's still frame tearing. Okay, let's head back outside. So let's go for a drive. See, driving is going to be something interesting. So we've got the Caliburn here, which is very, very fast. And the driving's always been a bit weird in Cyberpunk. As in, it's always been a bit heavy and a bit difficult to control. So it's the kind of thing where slight delay in the input will really screw you over and make it more difficult. So I'm just going to drive around for a bit with DLSS 3 on, and then I'm going to switch it off and drive around a bit with it off and see if I can just feel that difference. So it does feel pretty damn good, and that frame rate is really holding up. Like I said, I think there's only going to be slight drops in the frame rate every now and then that bring that minimum down to what we saw in the benchmarks. So that's a bit of a drive around with DLSS 3 on, and it feels fine. Doesn't feel as bad as it did on release, but I'm still not that great at it because it's still a bit too heavy. But let's see if that's also being caused by DLSS 3. So DLSS frame generation is now off, and we are now back to just DLSS 2, and already I'm crashing, but that's just because I'm bad at driving in this game. Let's go for a drive, see if the responsiveness is a little bit better. You know, it does feel a little bit more responsive. But the thing we have to remember is that the internal game logic is still running at a certain rate. So those inputs are still going in at 48 frames a second, as far as I know, and then DLSS is filling in extra frames in between. So it could just be the disconnect between the smooth frame rate, but still with the sort of input feeling of 48 FPS in there as well, that kind of gives it that weird feel. Because yeah, you put an input in, that input still gets processed and comes out at a certain frame, but then additional frames are rendered in between that frame and the next frame. So you've still the smooth frame rate, but you've still got the sort of input latency of 48 FPS. So I don't think my driving is any worse, and I don't think the FPS shooting will be any worse than what your base frame rate is. God, this looks so nice. Look at that grass. And the game looks fantastic when it's sunny, but it still should be raining a lot more than it is. Anyway, let's get DLSS 3 back on. Like I said, to have it look nice and run ultra smooth is just the double whammy. Still that weird streaking effect though with DLSS 2. Look at that. That is really streaking really badly. Whoa! Let's make sure that's not DLSS 3. Yep, no it's not. It's DLSS. So if we completely disable DLSS, yeah, that streaking is gone. I'm fairly certain I'm using the latest DLL as well. So here we are again at 100 FPS. Driving around. Let's see if we can turn some graphics settings down. Let's see how high we can get the frame rate to actually go. Green space reflections, turning that down to high, people have told me will have a good impact. Let's completely turn off ray tracing and see what frame rate we get. Oh, that was a bit disappointing, wasn't it? 140 FPS. I've gained 40 FPS from that. Okay, see how much further we can push it. This is just me having fun at the moment. Performance. Let's just turn everything off. Everything off, even an ISO. I want to get to 200 FPS. Okay, how is medium the lowest setting? 183. Oh, it's not quite 200 FPS. Look how bad it looks. It looks like the PS4 edition. Oh my god. There's a way to get 200 FPS. Watch this. There you go. There you go, 213 FPS. It's official. Right, anyway, that's enough joking around. Let's turn all these settings back up. Everything back up to the absolute max. That's better. 76 FPS. I want to get in a shootout, and then I want to head into the desert and see what the FPS is like out there with top settings and DLSS 3. Ooh, look at that car. Feels so much better. I mean, it was rough playing this game at 30 FPS, let me tell you that, in the shooting sections. The story sections and stuff, not so bad, but these sort of sections felt really bad. Like, trying to do it like a 180 spin there would have just sucked. And then 2 people immediately then, like, spawn in out of nowhere. Oh my god, she has a gun? Fair enough. Let's head out into the desert. She's another one of my favourite cars. Oh, look at this bad boy. I love this car. Perfect for the desert. And let's see if the new patch has removed this car that's been stuck on this piece of road here since I first started playing years ago. Oh my god, has it? Has it actually? Maybe it's a different piece of... No, it's still there. This car has been stuck here with this person in it who is still moving, still alive. He's been stuck here for over 2 years in this game. It still feels like almost like a beta of a game. Whenever people make a video saying how CDPR have redeemed themselves and Cyberpunk is good now, yeah, it's still got a lot of work to do, and that DLC ain't gonna fix it. So here we are. We are now out in the desert, and the frame rate's still pretty similar to what it was when we were in the city, which kind of makes sense because there still is quite a bit of detail out here. But again, it is nice to, oh, here we go. Back to the Future 3, baby. Back to the Future 3. Yeah, you know. You know what I mean. Wicked. It just feels so good to have the frame rate nice and high. So yeah, DLSS 3 is pretty good, as we've seen before. I'm pretty happy with it. Combined with DLSS 2 quality, the game looks pretty gorgeous. It's just a shame. I need to really look at the mods again, get all the mods up to date, because this new update did seem to break a lot of the mods. In the future, there will be a Stalker Gamma-like super release, I imagine, that contains a whole bunch of mods that brings this game up to what it was meant to be. But to conclude there, that is Cyberpunk with an RTX 4090, a 7700X Ryzen, 32 gigs of RAM, running at a very good frame rate with the DLSS 3. The only trouble being that I can see is that it causes some lag on loading. I've seen a few crashes and it lags quite a bit once you exit a full screen menu. Other than that, works pretty nice. So leave a like, let me know in a comment what you think about it. If you tried the update, if you have any problems yourself, let me know what you think about the fact they still haven't released overdrive ray tracing, and stick around for next week's video where I'll be looking at a Unreal UE4 remake prototype. Hope everyone's staying safe, and I will see you in the next video.